My name is David, and I would like to welcome everyone today to Sunburst service, everyone here in the temple, and any folks who may view this video online a week from now. Our Sunday services go up on the following Sunday on YouTube. And we do see that a few people are watching, so I'd like to welcome all of you as well. And we are so connected in spirit to one another. I wanted to also start today by mentioning that we are coming out of a 4-day weekend, or 4-day long weekend Kriya retreat that we had since Thursday. It was a really special Kriya retreat, and Kriya is the meditation that we practice here at Sunburst, which was passed down to us from our founder, Norm Paulson, who received it from his teacher when he was a young man, and that was Paramahansa Yogananda that taught Norm Kriya. And Norm received it from his teacher, and the lineage goes back and back and back. And in the past, we have had Kriya 1 initiations and Kriya 2 initiations. And this week, for the first time in the modern era, we had a Kriya 3 initiation. And before I talk just a little bit about that, I want to express so much gratitude to everyone who helped prepare for the Kriya retreat. And there's quite a bit that goes into preparation, and it's a team effort. And we have a wonderful team of people here who help take care of the grounds and run the office and the kitchen and everything. It's just a lot to it, but I don't even want to call it a labor. It's service. It's a service of love. And that's really, when it comes down to it, that's why we're here. That's why Sunburst is here. Because if those of us members who lived here, if all we did was interact with each other all the time and nobody else, and had nothing to offer a greater service to our friends, I think we would be falling short, and we might get bored, and we might start fighting with each other. Living in community can bring the best and the best out of each other. So I also want to extend sincere gratitude to those folks who joined us, who don't live here on the property, but are members of Sunburst, have gone through the Kriya 1 initiation and the Kriya 2 initiation in the past, and have chosen to continue to come back here for spiritual renewal. And you bring spiritual renewal with you, believe me, when you come here. You bring spiritual renewal to everyone who's here. And it is truly a blessing to have each and every one of you. And then all of our local folks, and some drive quite a ways every Sunday to come and join in our Sunday service. We have so much to be grateful for. There's so much love in our lives, each one of us. And I think it's just going to keep on going. I really do. It's gone for 55 years now, so I think we'll keep it going. But I was saying about how this was the first time we've had a Kriya 3 initiation, and Kriya 3 is an initiation that Norm Paulson, the founder of Sunburst, gave to the members who were part of Sunburst back in 1977. That was 47 years ago. And it's never actually been presented formally since then. Norm wrote a few things about it. Luckily, he left some information for those of us who wanted to put this Kriya initiation together to have some material to draw on. But most of it really was from what the people who were there at the time could remember about the initiation. And it was such a powerful event that many of us did remember it quite well. And many of us, from time to time, still practice that Kriya 3 initiation. I can't say that I practice it a lot, but I do every once in a while remember it and practice it, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful tool. So I wanted to, my last gratitude is I wanted to just express some gratitude to our friend Norm, whose picture, his beautiful smile is up here on the wall. And he was such a unique individual in that he had such a wonderful balance in his life. And today, the topic is bringing balance into your life. But Norm, he was about 6'4", and he was really built. You know, when he was a young man, he was into weightlifting, so he was really strong. As he got older and put weight on, he just got bigger and thicker and more impressive. But he had a heart that would not stop giving. And that has been such a gift to all of us who had the benefit of knowing him, seeing this wonderful balance in this man whose only desire was to share the deep spiritual realizations that he had with anyone who was interested. And so thank you, Norm, for teaching that technique to us all those many years ago, and for inspiring our brother Jake to resurrect it for future generations, and for all the people who helped compile it, bring it back together, get it into a teachable form again. And I would like to say that if anyone here is interested in receiving Kriya initiations, you can contact our office. We have 2 or 3 initiations every year. There's usually at least one Kriya 1 and one Kriya 2. And Kriya 3 will probably be put on the rotation. Probably not. It probably won't be 45 years again before we teach it. But it probably won't be every year either. See how it goes. It's very important that before you receive Kriya 3 that you have an opportunity to practice the other 2 Kriyas for a while, because there's a lot to it. There's a quote that comes with our song sheet today, and it's, "Balance is the perfect state of still water. Let that be our model. It remains quiet within and is not disturbed on the surface." And then there's a little side note here on my sheet. It's not on the song sheet. It says, in 2 days, the sign of Scorpio starts. And I think that's kind of significant with this topic, because when Scorpio is a water sign along with Pisces and Cancer, and Scorpio is the fixed water sign. So anytime I think of Scorpio, I think of really deep water. It's like the Scorpios I know they're deep. They're deep thinkers. They have profound contributions to make. And I think it's really fitting that was on here. And I'm sure some of you can think of some of the people I'm thinking of who are like that, and maybe others in your life. So that also reminded me, this deep water, this still water, of something that happened many years ago, probably 15 years ago. I've lived here at this Sunburst property since 2014, so that's been 10 years now. But before that, I lived in Arizona for 25 years, kind of away from the community, but we had businesses over there, natural food stores, and I was the representative of Sunburst and New Frontiers to help keep an eye on that operation and to grow it. And luckily, I had wonderful friends here at Sunburst who I connected with regularly. My boss, Jonathan King, we talked on the phone a lot. My friend Jake, my friend Missy, many others. But all these three all worked at New Frontier, so I was in communication with them a lot. And also Valerie, Jonathan's wife, who is no longer with us, but was a big contributor to New Frontiers and to the spiritual work of Sunburst, which we've been doing all these years. But I was so I was living in Arizona, but in the late 90s, Norm, with the help of some other community members, had started up these events that we have, these meditation teaching weekend events, and they were like really a big deal. I can remember the first one. We were sitting in a tent because there was no temple, there was no lodge, and there was a tent somewhere right out in here. And Norm gave a really beautiful talk, and different members of the community talked about their experience with a life of spirit. It was really, really inspiring. And so over time, the lodge was built. So then we started having our events in the lodge, and then the temple was built, and we've been having events, meditation and Kriya teachings in the temple here since I think about 2012. But I would come out for as many of those Kriya retreat weekends as I could. I had been away from the community for quite a few years, but I was being asked if I would be willing to speak at I think it was maybe a Kriya review that we were doing, and so I mustered up the courage to say that I would do that. Even I was nervous about it because I hadn't really spoken to a group in a long time in that same capacity. Even though we did have a small meditation group in Arizona, it was a little different. So the day before I was going to be doing this Kriya review, and I think Patty and I were doing it together, I decided to go for a walk up on the mesa up here behind the temple, and there's a little circle you can do up there. And before I went, I asked Spirit to show me something that would inspire me in the theme of technical and devotional. Because one of the things I know about learning Kriya is that there's so much to it that's technical. You're trying to think about, well, now I do this and now I do that. All these different things with your breath and parts of your body, that it's easy to lose track of the devotional aspect of it. which is really, really important. So I just was like, show me something that is, that exemplifies the technical and devotional aspect. I have to tell you that I was actually thinking of Craig when I said this, because Craig just looks at anything in nature and can see all the spirals and all the connectivity. He has such an incredibly unique mind, or unique to me, I'll just say. Much more practical in the way that when I look at it. But he's always so inspired with the things that he is able to spot in nature and share with everyone. So I went for my walk up on the mesa, and at a certain point I came to, there's a concrete stock watering trough up there. And so I stopped and I was looking in there, and the water was very still, just like this Confucius saying, and it was full of tadpoles swimming around in the water. And they were at different stages of development. Some of them had little legs sticking out. And I was looking at them and I was thinking, well, this is such an incredible example of the evolution that life goes through to get to the next stage of evolution. And I thought about how, it's so interesting, because once they go through their full evolutionary stage, they're going to be able to live outside the water because they're going to be a frog. And I was thinking to myself how incredible that is, because there's not that many creatures that can do that. So I was just full of inspiration by that. And then I got up, and as I was walking along, I thought about the word tadpoles. Tadpoles, and I went TAD, technical and devotional. And then I was practice, technical and devotional practice, P. And then it was just rolling out of me. Technical and devotional practice of light entering souls. That's what came to me. Because in meditation, that's what's going on. We're having this technical and devotional experience of receiving the light into our soul. And then I thought, nobody's going to want to hear about turning into a frog. So I put it away. But I always did think about it for myself. I thought, well, tadpoles. Whenever I would see a tadpole or something, say something about a tadpole, I would remember that we're all like tadpoles, and that we're evolving towards this higher form, which can do different things. So then, maybe 5 years later, I moved out here to the ranch. Was invited, my wife and I were invited to some friend's house for dinner. And we went there for dinner, and they had a hutch in the corner. And they had meditating figures. There was Jesus and Siddhartha, and then there was a meditating frog. And I was reminded of this thing that had happened. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And then 2 days later, we went with some friends. My wife and I went with some friends, and there was a Pier 1 import store in Goleta, and it was closing. They were having a big sale. And we went in there, and I was walking around, and there was a meditating frog that was this big. And so I was like, okay, maybe there's something here to consider. So I looked up the frog totem, right? they're cleansing, renewal, and emotional transformation, which are all really beautiful things. And the other thing was, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term confirmation bias, but I was thinking, this tadpole thing sounds so much like confirmation bias. Like I was looking for something, but I can tell you that I wasn't trying that hard to come up with something. It just kind of happened. So since then, I've really meditated on and thought about how these tadpoles, they're not thinking about, I want to become a frog, but they're going through this evolution. And at a certain point, they come out of the water and they're able then to live in the air and then to come back into the water. It made me think about Norm, because Norm was somebody, my personal testimony, and anyone who knew him, if you were around him, he was somewhere else and with you at the same time. You would walk away from a conversation with him and you would be thinking about things that you've never thought about in your life. And there were things that he never even talked about. But there was this live wire to this other world, a world that was less confining than being in the watering trough, open to the whole world around it. And many times when people have a near-death experience and they find themselves outside of their bodies, when they come back into their bodies, they watch themselves enter back into their bodies through the crown of their head. So that this crown chakra is really like an important gateway to this other world. And it's also referred to in Eastern teachings as the 1,000-petaled lotus. And if you see lotus flowers, they're floating on the surface of the pond, but then they have a long root or underwater stem of some kind that goes down into the mud. And in order to have that crown chakra open and to have us be able to make our way into this other world that is around us, we have to go through the stages of working with the mud at the bottom of the pond. We have to clear out the energies in our lower chakras in order to make this journey and bring ourselves up to this point where we can also make an exit into this other world. And if it be our karma, that we would also come back into this world and not have to leave this body behind, but be able to use it as a vehicle of inspiration. Our brother Norm did. What greater evolution of consciousness kind of in this body could we have than to be able to do that? And of course, Norm's not the only one. His teacher, Paramahansa Yogananda, had obviously done that. Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, the teachers, Lahiri Mahasaya, Sri Yukteswar, Krishna, all of them, they all have had these experiences. I can never remember the woman, the lady saint. Yeah, Anandamaya Ma. Again, it's such an inspiring story. All the Christian saints who had transcended the dogma, the teaching that was around them, found the mysticism that was buried within that teaching that came directly from Christ. beautiful mystic connection. Sometimes on the spiritual path, we just need to relax and realize that we are growing and evolving, that God loves us so much that there's the only satisfaction that God is when we have turned our attention in that direction and made ourselves available to receive the beautiful, beautiful love that Spirit has for us. And there's a Rumi poem about I was knocking on the door, trying to get out, and the door opened, and I realized I was already on the other side. We are already fully connected with this consciousness. We just have to bring the level of our vibration up so that our minds, our inner being can sense this very, very real connection that we have with all of life and with the author of all of life. And before we go into meditation, I'd just like to say one more thing. It was mentioned in some of our classes about how our souls, they don't feel any shame or any guilt about anything. It's our egos that hold us back with shame and guilt. When we get in touch with our souls through deep meditation, through virtuous living, then we start to feel that same energy of I'm more than just this personality and these habits that have developed over the last 20 to 80 years, whatever it might be. And the soul, our very own soul within, it is anxious to make the journey back to self-realization. And we, in our minds, in our thoughts, we have been given the opportunity and the responsibility to help assist our soul in that transformation. And it's depending on us being the best humans that we can be, making the best choices we can make to help fulfill that connection. Let's sit together in quiet meditation for 15 minutes and just relax into our meditation technique. We don't have to concentrate so hard that we're furrowing our brow. We need to find a way to have complete focus and total relaxation at the same time. And we can do that within our bodies. Just find a comfortable seat. Be aware that you have no tension in your body. Hold your focus out here at the third eye, that point between the eyebrows. And just breathe in the breath of life. And exhale the breath of life back to spirit. And enjoy the beauty of being a human being and having this desire that we have. I was reminded this morning that last week during one of our morning meditations here in the temple, we have a meditation that goes from 6:30 to 7, and Craig is always in here first. Not sure how early he gets in here, but he's got the temple ready to go by at least 6:50. But that particular morning, there was not a large group of people in the temple. Maybe we'll get 15 people sometimes in our morning temple meditations. And then we have an online meditation in the mornings that Eileen hosts. And I think that they get quite a few people too. So it's really a nice service. But after meditation, and one of the sisters just stated, she said something along the lines, there's not very many of us in the temple this morning, but there's quite a number of others that are joining. Something along those lines, to indicate that he was able to see or perceive a group, maybe a multitude, I don't know, but a number of other beings, entities who were here with us. And I think it's a good reminder, because I forget sometimes that we are being accompanied all the time by our guardian angels, by, I'm not sure who, but others who want to help us and support us in our efforts. I know they're here today. I'm sure some of us can feel them. They delight in seeing us come together and make efforts towards our divine evolution. And I was saying earlier about how it's easy to forget who we really are. We really are an eternal soul. And to start identifying with this role that we're playing. And it made me think about how actors, movie actors, they play all these different roles. And then when they're done, they just go back to being who they are. And sometimes they're like a very kind, giving, caring, loving person. And other times they might play like literally a monster, evil monster. I mean, I can think of some famous actors who have such great range, but we never think, oh, well, that's who they are, you know. Hannibal Lecter, it's always going to be that way. And when we look at each other, we have to realize that we're looking at personalities and habits. But when we look deep within each other, we can see who we really are. We can see the true, deep, loving soul that resides within. Some people go through their whole life and never realize this. And we're very, very lucky to have one another and to have this understanding within that we're more, that we're going to get out of this pond, and we're going to get into another world, an astral world that puts everything here in a completely different perspective. I'd like to read a Yogananda quote. I've got a couple of them. I got to decide which one. This is from the Yoga of Jesus, Yogananda's book. Transparency to truth is cultivated by freeing the consciousness of heart's feeling and the mind's reason from the dualistic influences of attraction and aversion. Reality cannot be accurately reflected in a consciousness ruffled by likes and dislikes, with their restless passions and desires, and the roiling emotions they engender: anger, jealousy, greed, moody sensitivity. But when chitta, human knowing and feeling, is calmed by meditation, the ordinarily agitated ego gives way to the blessed calmness of soul perception. That really goes back to the very opening quote from Confucius. Balance is the perfect state of still water. Let that be our model. It remains quiet within and is not disturbed on the surface. A perfect balance within ourselves. And when we achieve balance, we know the freedom that we have within. The freedom to love without expectation, and to give without thinking of receiving, and to support those who are having a hard time and that might even be offending us. It's a consciousness that goes so far beyond the self-consciousness that permeates this planet. It's a virtuous, divine consciousness of inclusiveness. You're welcome to join me in a closing prayer. Living Spirit, you have created us, given us life in these bodies. Might we remember who we really are and honor you every day with our thoughts and actions. We are so grateful to know who you are and that you are waiting for us. Amen.
Oh my Lord, I feel you everywhere. Take my life, I put it in your care. Oh my Lord, I feel you everywhere. Take my life, I put it in your care. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you.
Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you.
Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you.
Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you.
Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you.
Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be
I
with
feel
you,
you
show you the